What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Charles "I Walk This Earth Like a God" Martin. He had this to say about his next upcoming fights. He said he can't get Luis Ortiz or Adam Kalnacki back into the ring, and you can forget about that bitch-ass Dillian Whyte. He's been afraid to fight me since day one. So you can can him. However, since he can't get those guys, he would like to take on the new blood and stop their tracks as he regains his respect into the heavyweight division. And the three guys are Lenier Pero from Cuba, Daniel Dubois, or Jared Anderson. And let me counterpunch. If Charles Martin can beat one of those guys, especially Jared Anderson or Daniel Dubois, he would be back on track. You know, he would have his respect. He's been beaten by guys that are not lower class heavyweights. You know, they were either second tier or, you know, at the time, Adam Kalnacki was undefeated. And, Luis Ortiz, of course, is old, but he's always dangerous because he always has a puncher's chance along with the experience. But I think he could really resurrect his career by doing so. Realistically, if I was Charles Martin, I would stay away from the Cuban, Leniel, because he's a guy that wants to prove himself. He's 9-0 in 6 KOs. He just beat Victor Crest, right? And Victor Crest was 11-0 with 7 KOs. So if I was Charles Martin, I would be targeting Daniel Dubois. That's if Daniel Dubois, if they would give him a shot, which that is more likely not going to be the case because Daniel Dubois is in a good position. Okay, why? Because on the WBA end, he's the regular champ. So since he's the regular champ, he has first dibs at the super title. Okay, so Daniel Dubois could just sit back and wait until whatever happens in the heavyweight division and then become a mandatory. Why would he risk it with Charles Martin? But the thing is, Charles Martin has 3 losses. Okay, and Daniel Dubois has 1. So it's just really up to Frank Warren if he would want to fancy a fight between Daniel Dubois and Charles Martin, because if Charles Martin is able to beat Daniel Dubois, that would be a good fight, actually, because it would be a step up for Daniel Dubois because it's a lot better than the fighter that he fought, Brian, right? So it would be better than Brian, but, or Bryant, rather, and he would be fighting a former champion. But then either way, his road is hard. You know, speaking of which, Dillian Whyte, I think Dillian Whyte should respond to Charles Martin and fight. Forget about the payday, forget about the ego, forget about all that stuff, because at the end of the day, you know, you went to war with Jermaine Franklin. Now Jermaine Franklin is fighting the guy that you was promised to get, which was Anthony Joshua. So to stay busy, you would at least give Charles Martin an opportunity since he's been calling your name and since you wanted to fight an American that no one knew. Okay, so if he fought Charles Martin, that would be a pretty good fight. And then Dillian Whyte has the opportunity to shut up Charles Martin for once and for all, right? So I think that would be a pretty good fight. But then Charles Martin, you can tell he's hungry. He must be, you know, looking at that money, and it might be a little funny, and that change might be a little strange to take on these guys like Jared Anderson, you know, or Leniel, you know, or Daniel Dubois. So it sounds promising. I hope he can get one of these guys that he needs to prove himself, because we need these type of fights in boxing to see where anybody and everybody is at in the sport. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Charles Martin calling out the young blood of the heavyweight division. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!